Today. All right, Coach, it's your job to wrap your head around it and explain it to us. So what do you make of the last 2 weeks?
Wow. I mean, I said it at the start of the press conference after the game. It was just wow. I mean, obviously we've done some self-reflection of how we can handle the situations better. I think offensively we need to be more aggressive at the end of games and not worry about trying just to milk the clock and save our defense. We have to try to score. I think we could help ourselves that way. But at the end of it all, to think back-to-back weeks, we'd have a Hail Mary beat us, and then an onside kick recovery and a missed field goal to keep us in first place. Unbelievable, quite honestly. I mean, I've said this before. To think about what we've gone through since training camp to this point, if I handed that as a movie script to a producer, I think the guy would say, "This could never happen. There's no way I'm not going to produce this movie. This is unreal. This would never happen." It's all happening to us. Like, I mean, it's
and
unbelievable.
we're only halfway there.
Yeah,
we got another hour of this movie to go at least.
Yeah, no kidding. Sark, when I look at this and I sort of conceptualize it, and this is the second time that your team has had to bounce back from a tough loss, whether it be the criticism at Boston College or the Hail Mary, of course, today at ASU. What does it say about the character of this team? Because the one thing is not in question is after those tough losses, they have come out really ready to play, focused, and played their probably each time we've said their best game of the year after the loss.
Without a doubt. And I think that's the part that's a little bit frustrating. I think the people will say, well, we're an up and down team, this or that. We've played pretty good football, and I feel bad that we didn't play a very good final 5 minutes against Arizona State. I feel bad that the last few minutes against Arizona went the way they did because in the games themselves, we've played really good football. We've executed the game plan. We've done the things we wanted to get done. We just have to do a better job of finishing, and that's all part of the process. It's all part of trying to get better.
Well, at times it felt like the Buck Allen show during that Arizona game. And I thought Johnny Nansen, your running backs coach, said something interesting today. He said he really sees Buck starting to trust his offensive line, and that's where a lot of these big plays are coming from. What does that mean? Talk about the relationship between the running back and his offensive line.
Well, I think it's understanding the blocking scheme. I think it's recognizing the front that a defense is in or the blitz that the defense is trying to execute, and then how they all come together and really anticipating where that run is going to go. And we're starting to see that more and more with Buck. He's starting to set up blocks a little bit better. And the reality of it is, he's getting to the second level with a plan. He's anticipating getting to the second level. He's anticipating a safety being at 15 yards. What am I going to do to make him miss? And all in all, he's playing great. We can't ask him more of what we're getting out of him right now. Over 750 yards rushing, over 250 yards receiving. Yep. The one game that he has that he doesn't go over 100 yards rushing, he has over 100 yards receiving against Boston College. So all in all, he's having a great year.
Another thing, and Buck was part of this, is you asked for last week. You said we have to make more explosive plays, and this week you made those explosive plays in comparison to Arizona, who when they had their few opportunities, they didn't make those explosive plays, which ended up costing them at the end. How did you get your team to sort of turn around that mindset and that part of their game?
Well, I think you have to practice it. One, you have to practice making people miss. You have to practice tackling in the open field. Two, you have to call plays, and I'm pointing at myself right now. You guys are seeing me, to throw the ball down the field so that you can get yards in chunks and things of that nature. And then the third piece is implementing the confidence factor. You want a quarterback who believes in the call, the receivers, running backs, all those guys, believing in the calls that they can make those explosive plays, and I think that occurred.
Yeah, they certainly occurred in the running game, and you took more vertical shots in the passing game, it seemed like to me, than maybe any game this season. They didn't really hit. What needs to get done to get? What's the key to getting the deep ball going, I guess? You're calling some of the plays. What's the key to actually getting it done?
Well, I think it's practice. I hate to sound, elementary that way, but it's practice. It's about doing it. It's about making those throws on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and then it's developing that belief. When you throw that post route 3 times to Juju Smith and he catches it all 3 times, you're more apt to anticipate it, even though there's a defensive lineman in your face, but Juju's going to be there and you let it rip, or George Farmer or Nelson Aguilar, whoever that is. So, I'm a firm believer in when you coach something and you want something to get better and you work on it, if you do it right, it should get better. And I really believe that aspect of our game will improve.
And, you know, we're midway through the season, and one thing that we pointed out as a huge question mark coming into the season was the offensive line. Well, because they were young, 4 out of the 5 guys are playing new spots. You know, there's not one senior in the class. Talk about this offensive line, because not only have they been playing well, but they are blocking for the top rusher in the conference.
Man, they're getting good, aren't they? I mean, they really are. I mean, some of those holes, I want to give Buck a bunch of credit, but I could have gotten about 20 yards. I know he got 48 on one. I might have been able to get 20, maybe 12. I don't know. But the reality of it is they're really doing a good job. I think Toa Lobendon, Vianney, those guys have been fantastic. Zach Banner, we've seen the reemergence of Andre Walker, who's playing more now. Max Turk, I think his comfort level at the center position has really improved. And we just kind of always let Chad Wheeler go to the side, like, oh, he's just playing left tackle. It's only his second year doing it. The guy never, you know, he was a high school tight end or whatever he was.
220 pounds.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's improving. So there's just a lot of real positives there going on. And it's been fun to see that we're doing it in a variety of formations and personnel groupings. We've done it with the traditional tight end and fullback. We've done it with 3 wides and a tight end. We've done it with open sets, and they're comfortable in all of those things, and that makes us more dangerous, quite honestly.
Well, is it a sign of their maturity and how much they learned? Because against Boston College, it looked like confusion. They were bringing blitzes and twists and everything. And we said, hey, the young offensive line, they can't handle it. It's just too much for them. 3-3-5 defense for Arizona, same type of pressure, same type of twist, not knowing how many guys are coming or not, and they were almost flawless. What happened?
Well, I've been saying it all along. We've gotten the kitchen sink up front. From Fresno, Stanford, Boston College, all along the way. We've seen every front, every blitz, every stunt, everything you can think of. And we've had our struggles. I'll be the first to admit, you know, we've had days where, geez, this is tough, you know, and we got to protect these guys. But last Saturday, when Arizona was giving us all the junk, when they were, you know, gaming our guys inside all the stuff, it was a lot more comforting to watch our guys be able to make their adjustments on the move, communicate with one another at the line of scrimmage, come off on the sidelines and say, hey, Coach, this is what we're getting. So all of that just shows a real sign of maturity for me.
On the other side of the line, it seemed like you trusted your rotation a little bit more this week, or you just sort of force-fed them onto the field. And how much did that help in Leonard being able to be a force for 4 quarters? Because obviously the last chance he gets, he makes the biggest play of the game.
I wish I could say it was about the rotation. Leonard Williams played 94 plays the other night, which is just an astronomical number for a defensive lineman. And you'd never know it when you watch the 2-point conversion. I mean, he just
best play of the game.
Throws the tackle to the side, makes the play. But you did see Cody Temple more. You did see Greg Townsend more. We're seeing guys rotate in. Claude Pellon, you know, gets a sack, blocks a field goal. So all in all, that to me is a confidence booster for our team. It's a confidence booster for Justin Wilcox, knowing that those guys can go in and play at critical moments of the game and make plays. So all in all, we put a lot on our defensive front. We were playing with a too-high shell all night to keep the ball in front of us with the great receivers that Arizona had. And when they ran the football, we were going to count on our defensive front to make the stop, and they were able to do it.
And you put a lot on some young guys in the secondary. We'll talk about those when we come back. In the homecoming game ahead, the Buffs are headed into the Coliseum. You're listening to Trojans Live on the Beast. I wanted to talk about this sort of makeshift secondary you had to put together. You were holding the thing together with glue a little bit. Adoree goes out. Kevon was sort of in and out in that game. Next man up turned out to be John Lockett and John Plattenberg, and it seemed to our eyes like they actually did pretty well, and you even mentioned today that maybe more opportunities for those guys.
Sure, without a doubt. I thought both of them stepped up, and you know, we've been preaching the next man up mentality in the program, which we have to have. You know, when you're limited numbers-wise, you have to be prepared to play, and we didn't recruit any of these guys just to come in and say, hey, you're going to redshirt, you know, and we'll see you next year. We're developing these guys every single day, and some guys start the opening snap of the first game of the year in the Coliseum. Other guys, 6-7 games into the year, then they're ready to go. So very impressed by John, both Lockett and Plattenberg, to step in and do what they did. Can they play better? Without a doubt they can, you know, but for the first time against that receiving core, which in my opinion you could argue is the best in our conference as a complete receiving core, they did a great job.
You know, when you have those young guys in there, and I know you had to be contemplating this at the end, you're looking at like, look, these are true freshmen that haven't played and the game is on the line. Any thought to it appeared like you stayed with the game plan. Was there any thought to change it?
Sure.
Okay.
You know, I mean, Justin's wanting to come after him and let's go blitz this kid. And, you know, they got a redshirt freshman quarterback. And it was me, quite honestly, telling Justin, just wait him out. Let's wait him out. Let's make them earn it. Let's make them earn their way down the field and not give them anything cheap. And we did that. Mm-hmm. You know, they ran over 100 plays. Only 5 of those 100 plays were explosive plays, which is a great percentage. I mean, we'll take that every day of the week. I mean, our goal offensively is to have a 20% ratio of explosive plays, and then our goal is to hold our opponents under 10% for explosive plays. We held Arizona in the 4% range for explosive plays. So for me, that's a way to win the game. And we thought they'd throw the ball to us a few more times. He didn't. Credit to their quarterback. But all in all, we stuck with the game plan, and it was good enough to win.
Yeah, you mentioned that game plan. I was wondering how much Sua Cravens played into it, because it seemed like for the first time he was sort of playing linebacker first and second down. It looked like at least in obvious third down passing situations he was going back to safety. Was that a plan going forward, or is that maybe more of a game plan to try and limit those explosive plays and have him in a deeper position?
Well, it's just trying to put everybody in the best position to be successful. And Sua's obviously very good in the obvious running downs. When he's around the ball, he can blitz, he can come off the edge, make tackles. Then when there's obvious passing downs, we can get him where he's reading the quarterback's eyes. He can go make plays on the ball and make those tackles. And so that's no different than a Leon McQuay or a Gerald Bowman or a John Plattenberg. We're just constantly trying to put our players in the best position to be successful in all 3 phases, not just defense.
And one of the calls that you made, one of the best calls that you made, was timeout. And you had you had 2 timeouts twice that iced the kicker. How much does that play into it? I mean, how much does the timeout factor into the kick, or is it just all about the players?
You know, I don't know. You know, I think it does. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that, you know, as a competitive person, if somebody were to call timeout on me shooting a free throw or kicking a field goal, or even when you're at bat, you know, that big at bat at the end, JJ, that you had, and the pitcher calls timeout or the catcher calls timeout and they go talk at the mound, for whatever reason, it's just not the same rhythm. And as athletes, I believe we operate better when we're in rhythm, when things are good and it's how it's supposed to be. When you call timeout, that changes the rhythm of the execution of whatever you're doing. And fortunately for us, it worked out. It's not foolproof. It's not 100%, but it happened to work the other night.
As I mentioned, we're only halfway through this season. It seems like it's been going for a while. I'm going to ask JJ to sort of give his mid-season report card, but just in terms of assessing your team, offensively, defensively, where are they at in terms of where you want them to be, or what your expectations were?
Well, I think this. I think offensively, I want us to be more explosive, and I'm not shy in saying this, and the players know it. You can ask them. I think we can be, we should be, and we will be a more explosive offensive football team. And when we do that, that'll make life easier on our defense. Defensively, I love the fact that we were able to create turnovers early in the season. You know, I wish we had gotten a couple more the other night, quite honestly. It might have made life a little bit easier for us. I feel bad that we didn't defend the veer option better at Boston College, which is frustrating. I feel bad that we didn't play a better defense in the last 5 minutes of the Arizona State game. But those are all learning experiences for us as a football team. I love the fact that we have a punt return for a touchdown already this year. I think Adoree is just knocking on the door, kick return-wise, to make that happen. So special teams-wise, Andre Hidari, 2 field goals, already over 50 yards. So we're doing a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of really good stuff. Unfortunately, we have 2 blemishes on our record right now, one of which is in conference play. That being said, I think our best days are ahead of us, and I think we have a chance to do something very special here the last second half of the season. And I won't be surprised if we're playing at Levi Stadium in early December for a Pac-12 championship game.
I got one more question before we leave Arizona. The piped-in music, okay, I need a clarification. I know the band and the piped-in music in the stadium is supposed to stop at some point. What's the rule? Do you know that?
15 seconds on the play clock. But, again, I'm a big believer in you control what you can control, and I'm not the one pushing the volume on their speakers or not. I'm not the one that tells us how many scholarships we have or not. You play the hand you're dealt, and in my opinion, when you start getting distracted by all that stuff, you lose sight of what's right in front of you, of what you can control. So we focus on what we can. It's our players, it's our scheme, it's our execution, it's our mindset, our focus. And I believe we're getting better at that. And I think when you talk to these two guys here in a minute, they're going to start saying the same stuff, which is important to me.
And finally, you do what's in front of you is a game, 3 o'clock kickoff at the Coliseum. We should mention Colorado. What are we looking at in terms of the Buffaloes? Obviously a program in rebuilding mode, but it seems like they're getting better.
They are getting better. It's a real credit to Coach McIntyre. They've improved. They're fighting their tails off every time they take the field. A lot of the young players they've been playing with the last couple of years are starting to grow up. Nelson Spruce, a local kid, leading the conference in receiving. Cepho at quarterback. I mean, just a lot. Woodson Greer at linebacker. A lot of guys that are getting better and better and better. What I know is this. The game Saturday at 3 o'clock is worth the same amount as the game last Saturday at Arizona. This is a championship game, and we need to take that mindset. And from all accounts, the way we practice today, our guys understand that. This is a championship game. It is worth the same as when we played Arizona. We need this win.
Well, the Trojans needed to stay on top of the Pac-12 South, which is exactly where they are. 3 o'clock kickoff, homecoming at the Coliseum. Two guys that will be hopefully playing in that game. Two key members of this team coming up. Selma Vanuku and Gerald Bowman are next up on Trojans Live.